Hello and welcome back to KXAN Plus. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora. Today we are hoping that you leave what you're doing behind and get with me and Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannin to discuss the leaves. Leaves in our trees.
Yes, we're talking foliage. Esme, I lived in Massachusetts for 10 years before moving here. And the leaf peeping was all the rage. That's what they call people who go in search of beautiful fall foliage.
The leaf peepers?
Leaf peepers, indeed. And while much of the country has already seen their leaves change already and even in some cases fall to the ground, we are just getting into the time of year where our leaves will soon be changing. And with the cooler air now finally here, it seems like an appropriate time to talk about it.
Yeah, we have some cooler temperatures here. It feels a little bit like fall,
Yeah.
but I know we're not actually in fall until we start seeing the leaves change from this green to like a brownish
Okay,
color.
so that's your definition of fall.
And
there
that never
are two other
happens.
definitions of fall, of which the other two definitions do have us in fall already.
No, we're not
Yeah.
in fall until we see those leaves fall from the trees and turn brown.
Okay, the Esme definition of fall is different than everyone else, but that's okay. You're entitled to your own definition of fall, I guess. But let's talk leaves and why they change and when we can expect our leaves to change. And we can dive into this fun graphic here. There's basically
what a
two.
pretty graphic.
Thank you very much. There's basically two reasons that leaves change color here. The shortening of the days is a big part of it, but it's not the only reason. That cooler temperatures help to nudge them along as well. And what's basically happening is that there's a lot of different chemicals in leaves, chlorophyll being one of them. But as the leaves start to change, they're losing their chlorophyll as a process that the tree goes through to sort of prepare for winter.
What is chlorophyll?
Yeah, chlorophyll, well, it's a chemical, but it makes the leaves green. And it overpowers all the other chemicals and colors in the leaf so that most of the time they're green. But as we get through fall and the days get shorter, and the temperatures get cooler, the chlorophyll in the leaves starts to break down, and then it reveals sort of the real color of the leaves behind the green, behind the chlorophyll, and then you get your yellows, oranges, and reds. And I'm going to work on my chemical pronunciation here, Esme.
Let's hear it.
Xanthophyll.
That
gives-
sounds like a medication.
Yes. Ask your doctor about xanthophyll. No, it gives the green, it gives the leaves their yellow color once the chlorophyll has faded away. Carotene gives the leaves their orange color. And then anthocyanin gives the leaves their red color. And the colors that the leaves change to become once the chlorophyll has broken down are much dependent on the type of tree we're looking at. And I'm no tree expert.
I think you were barking that you were a tree expert earlier before we
I think you
started.
mean that I was barking up the wrong tree, something along those lines. Well, I'm trying to branch out
Okay.
and talk about the leaves here today because we are starting to feel like fall again. So the color that the leaves change to is generally dependent on the type of tree you're looking at. But the vividness of the color of those leaves depends on the weather. And you could see here, and we can make it full screen so it's easier for people to see. Bright colors are usually more likely when the late summer is dry and the autumn has sunny days and some cool nights.
So would that be what we expect?
Well, we've certainly had a dry summer, but we've also had a dry fall much of the time. A dry majority of our summer, I should say.
Not last weekend. We were.
I know that may be too late. Hard to say exactly, but yes, we had some rain there in the middle of October and quite a good soaking of it. But it was basically almost the only rain that we've had since meteorological fall has begun. Sometimes drought and things can put stress on trees, though, that actually makes them change their leaves and lose their leaves earlier than they should. So that may affect the leaf drop as we get into the season 2. In fact, some leaves are already coming down now, partially because of stress from the lack of rainfall. So depending on if the trees are on your property and you water them, or you have a sprinkler system and that sort of thing, and keeping them in good shape, that may also affect the leaves and how well the foliage looks as the leaves turn where you are.
Yeah, you mentioned before you started talking about these leaves changing color that it has to do also with when the sun sets.
Yeah.
I know that we are going to fall back pretty soon,
Yeah.
right? Is this going to be a result of that?
No, so it's more about the length of the day. And when we change our clocks the first weekend of November, we're just shifting the daylight because the sun is coming up earlier by about an hour and the sun is setting by about an hour. But the length of day is almost unchanged, other than losing about a minute or so of daylight. And we've been losing up to about 2 minutes of daylight at one point. Now the loss of daylight is starting to slow, but we continue to lose daylight. And that is helping to speed things along too. But the fact that we're changing the clocks, the trees don't know that. We're just shifting our daylight around for us humans. So they're unaffected by the ending of daylight saving time and the beginning of standard time. But what they continue to be affected by is that the days continue to get shorter.
Yeah.
So they're being affected in two ways: the cooler temperatures, which come and go and are certainly dependent on where you are, but they're affected by the shortening days, and that's inevitable. Regardless of the weather pattern, regardless of how hot we've been, the days are still getting shorter. Yeah. So the leaves still are knowing that, and the trees too, that the days are getting shorter, even if we've had a lot of heat around in September and at least through the first half of October. Only recently have these temperatures come down, but they may start to kickstart some of the leaf change in some parts of the area.
Well, what is the current fall foliage color that we're seeing right now in Central Texas?
Yeah, so I want to give credit to explorefall.com. They are the provider of the information. They sort of keep an eye on the foliage change throughout the United States. And what you can see here locally is that we've only had some patchy leaf change here locally. And that can be said for all areas within Central Texas. As I back the map
and Texas
out,
pretty much, right?
Yeah, just about, right? Unless we start including portions of the Panhandle where they have had more of a change there.
A moderate change?
Yeah, moderate change. And then you get closer to the northern part of the Panhandle, and they're actually near peak fall foliage there. So north of Amarillo, you could see more color, certainly. And then the rest of the Panhandle, more of a moderate color. And then the majority of Texas, barely any color at all. Just patchy leaf change here and there.
Or dead leaves, because we do have a drought.
Yeah, dead leaves. There's plenty of those. Some that have already fallen down to the ground. And then nationwide,
we are falling behind.
We are way behind just about everywhere else, right? Because a lot of, say, the northern 2/3 of the country are either at peak or past peak already. And certainly these areas have been colder for longer. Some of it is elevation dependent. You could see the Sierra Nevada mountains there in California. The higher up you are, the colder you are. We've already talked about that here in previous Nick's First Warning discussions. But those higher areas getting colder earlier, helping to move the leaves along as well. And then, of course, the farther north you are, the earlier you're seeing the change here too. And the darker the days have been as well. So it's a combination of factors. But generally speaking, the farther north you are, the higher up in altitude you are, the earlier your leaves have changed color. So just about 2/3 of the country really are peak fall foliage or past peak fall foliage.
Yeah. Nick, according to this map, the U.S. Map right here that we're looking at, where is your favorite place to travel to see the best fall foliage? Only from these places.
Yeah, so I can't say I've been to all of them, honestly, but spending 10 years in New England, it is a leaf peepers heaven. People travel from all over the world to go to New England to see the fall foliage. Certainly the Berkshires of Massachusetts, beautiful. The mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire, lovely as well. And in fact, I was talking to a colleague of mine today who is planning a leaf peeping trip for next year,
How
for
cool.
next October. And I was showing her some of these maps and saying, hey, if you're heading mid-October, this is where you want to go. Early October, go, to Vermont, New Hampshire.
Massachusetts
is an option too.
One.
And
I like to go to Portland, Oregon. Those leaves and trees are just so beautiful.
They are. Whoa, this map got big. I do want to show you something interesting though before, because I'll get to this map here in a second about the average peak change. But it's sort of interesting in that some places like in Albany, you can really see the urban heat island effect because the city is warmer than the surroundings. So the city there in Albany, New York is near peak, but everywhere around it has been cooler. So it's actually at peak. So you can get some of these subtle temperature changes around cities, also around bodies of water too.
They're even moderate in, what is that, Dunkirk?
Yeah, Dunkirk there, southwest of Buffalo. They're right next to the lake. They also have some of the urban heat island effect too. And then northeast of Cleveland, they're getting some of the benefits of a warmer lake helping to delay their leaf change too. So it's interesting how these maps really work because you're looking at not just the colors of, okay, where have the leaves changed? But then when you see some of the subtle changes, you're like, well, why is that? Why are some places ahead of the others? And then you get into these microclimates of temperature change between different areas. And this is from a national map perspective. This is just the average peak color timing. And again, thanks to explorefall.com for this.
And we are mid to late November.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to the point I was previously making, then we can look locally. But back to, Albany again, and even Burlington, Vermont. You got the lake there, Lake Champlain, and then that lake would be warmer and helping to keep some of the surroundings warmer around Burlington. Same for Albany too. And you'll find sort of the I-91 corridor in Connecticut into portions of Massachusetts. It's a more urban area, more of the urban heat island effect, helping to keep things warmer. So it is sort of interesting how that plays out nationally too, so just from the average peak color. And then we get to Texas as far as the average peak color here. We'll get to the local numbers in a second, but as far as if you're trying to travel within the state to see some better looking leaves than we have currently. Late October is your time to go to the Panhandle, and of course we're in that now. Early November, sort of closer to Midland, south of Amarillo, and then outside of Dallas, then you're looking at sort of that mid-November time frame, and then closer to us here in Central Texas. You can get to the hill country mid-November to see the peak color there. But in the metro, in our eastern counties, you're looking at late November. And often what happens, because Austin's got its own urban heat island effect, is that we'll see, sometimes it's more into early December that we'll see our leaf change around the city, even if you're seeing the leaves changing in the suburban areas in late November. So,
and that's why I say it's not fall yet, because we can't see it.
So you're going to try waiting until
December,
late November, early December to say it's fall? Okay. Because you also realize then that December 1st is the beginning of meteorological winter.
No, that's not until January, February when we get our freezes here in Central Texas.
Okay. So and then when does summer begin for you? Like June?
Like March.
March?
Yeah, that's when it starts to get
all right, so where does spring begin for you then?
Oh, we don't have that in
Central
Texas.
We just skip spring. All right. These are fun things that the people can know. They can learn about the Esme seasons of life.
Yeah, I can give a full forecast if you'd like me to.
One day, let's give it a shot. And just speaking more locally and more currently, temperatures are going to stay cooler than normal here for much of the next week
That's exciting.
during the day and at night. So this should help to move things along as far as the leaf color goes. Notice over the next 7 days, we spent 6 of the next 7 in the 70s and 5 of the next 7 that's below average. And then our nighttime lows down in the 40s here the next couple of nights. And then it's 50s here through Wednesday of next week. And 56 is normal for this time of year, at least for today. So every day of the next 7 below today's average low. So this should really help to move things along from a leaf change perspective. So some things to look forward to there.
So if this helps our leaves change quicker, then maybe we will enter fall sooner.
Oh, well, there you go. And then you can adjust your seasons that change year to year.
Then I will change the dates around.
Yeah.
Well, we had a great fall forecast from you, but can we expect any rain in the forecast pretty soon?
We're not forecasting any rain for the rest of October, except for a slim chance of rain here this Saturday. And November is usually not a particularly wet month for us. So there's no significant rain coming anytime soon. Of course, we had a widespread 1 to 3 inches last weekend. Nothing like that in the foreseeable future, unfortunately. But storms like that and the wind like we've had more recently do help to bring the leaves down. And that's something that we haven't covered yet, but on KXAN.com in our blog, we actually do dive into the reasons that the leaves drop. Because first you get the leaf color change, and then you eventually switch to the leaf drop.
Is it this article?
Yeah, that's the one. And at the bottom, so we dive into the explanations for leaf change, and then we'll give you some of the maps that you saw here today. And then at the bottom, we dive into the reason for the leaf drop. And it basically comes down to the tree severing its relationship with the leaves, and some cells develop at the stem of the leaf to help separate it from the tree. As you know, we're getting later into fall and into winter and the cooler temperatures and the shorter days. And that cell membrane creates somewhat of a boundary layer that allows the leaf to get cut off from the tree. And then the leaves can fall on their own, but they certainly do more so when the wind picks up. So more rounds of wind that we get will help to not just, they'll help to bring the leaves down once they have gone through the process of changing their colors and reaching that peak or past peak color, and then they'll start coming down. But that usually doesn't happen until later in December and even into January. You can still get leaves around, and some trees can hold on to their leaves much of winter, and then they start growing their leaves again into early spring, sort of finally forcing those old leaves off. Then the new ones come back.
And then finally spring starts.
Yeah, and then spring begins again. Yeah.
Well, we have that article on our website, KXAN.com, that you just published. It's also on our homepage. If anyone wants to find that easily, you can find that there. Nick, what about Halloween? What can we expect on Halloween?
Halloween, a pleasant day, 70s during the day. Nighttime lows drop into the 40s. But for trick-or-treating, I think we'll be between about 58 and 65. Depending on how early or late you go out in the night. So the earlier in the evening you go, you'll be in the 60s. If you're still trick-or-treating late in the evening, then we'll probably be in the 50s by then. So it'll be on the cool side of things. So bear that in mind if you still haven't decided on your costume yet. A warmer one may do just the trick, but it won't be nearly as windy as some of the weather that we've had.
Nice. Awesome. Great information to know for those trick-or-treaters that are planning to go out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nick, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Esme.